Everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone. Everyone.
Everyone.
Everyone. Everyone counts.
Everyone.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. How's everyone doing? Yeah, we need your bell today. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Welcome. I would first like to introduce you to Adam Pakes with the Views, and he's going to say a couple of words about the facility we happen to be in today. So, Adam.
Thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it. Huge turnout. So thank you for the support. Again, as Cal said, my name is Adam Pakes. I represent the ownership group of the Views. And in simple terms, this is a all-inclusive 55-plus luxury living facility. We provide a lifestyle for our residents that from when they wake up until when they go to bed. There's activities, there's camaraderie, there's food, there's dining, there's customer service. We're providing an opportunity for them to commingle with other folks that they never would have known before, and providing longevity is a good way to put it. Everybody here is amazing. Our staff is amazing. We come here every day to serve. I just want to quickly just recognize our staff that make it all possible every day for everybody that is here to enjoy themselves. First off, Renee Hudson. She's our business operations manager. Please give her a hand. We got Karen Toth, our sales and marketing director. She's the one that's giving everybody tours. Director of maintenance, Takai Wolf. Our executive director, Mark Rettersdorf. And our activities director, Nina. Thank you guys for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yes.
it.
Thank you, sir.
One more thing real quick. One more.
tours.
I'm sorry, that was I missed the best part. We are offering tours afterwards.
Yes.
So any one of us that I just introduced, including myself, please come see me. We'll give you a tour of the entire facility. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
So for those watching at home this morning, we are at the Views located on Swanson Avenue, just adjacent to ASU. This is the first time since I took office as mayor that we've left a government facility and went to a private facility, because this year we're on tour and we're going to go to government facilities and or places that have unique ability to get you all access to see what we have in our community. So we thank the Views for having us, and we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing we'll start with is we've been talking about it for a long time, and it's finally here. The U.S. Census. So now is the time that we need you to take action. We've been talking about it for almost a year now, but census cards will be mailed out in the next week. So at your physical address, if you get mail at your physical home address, you'll get a postcard. And on that postcard, there's going to be a unique identifier code for your household. We need you to go online and fill out the census form and put your unique identifier code in there so that your household is counted. But more so, we need you to talk to your family and to your friends and to your neighbors and to everybody else that you know to fill out their census form. And if you do not receive mail at a physical address, but you have maybe a P.O. box or a mailbox center, you're probably not going to get a card. So we need you to go one step further and reach out to the U.S. Census, or at least answer your door when the census worker knocks in April, May, or June. So the important factors of the census, it's in the U.S. Constitution every 10 years, people need to stand up and be counted within their communities. What it means for Lake Havasu City is everyone that pays shared taxes, so your income tax, the taxes at the gas pump, some of those things, they're redistributed back to cities and towns, counties as well, based on census data, population data that is gathered from the census. So what we do in the 2020 census will have an impact on us for 10 years. So it's so important that we get out there and do that. Another thing that this U.S. Census will do is it's believed that Arizona is going to get 1 or 2 more U.S. House of Representative seats in Congress. That is determined by the U.S. Census. So it's important that we let the census know where Americans are living so that we know how to have representation for those Americans. But again, we're slated to have 1 or 2 more of those folks representing Arizona in our interests in Washington, D.C. And then further, it does for social service agencies, folks that do grants and run social service opportunities here in our community. They use U.S. Census data to be able to get those grants delivered to their communities. So the U.S. Census is so important, but the day is actually here. So please share the word, spread the word. U.S. Census Day is actually on April 1st. So April 1st is the day, and that's not an April Fool's joke. That's just the day. So for those of you that don't have access to electronic means or computers or might not be tech savvy, don't worry. We have some things set up for you as well. You can come by City Hall and we can help you with that. Or again, they will have U.S. Census workers knocking on your door if you don't fill it out through the postcard or online mechanism. Mm-hmm. I think I caught all the talking points, but maybe.
But wait, there's more.
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned the charitable organizations, all the social services that are in the community, the schools, the school lunch programs. All those things are tied to the census. Our ability in Havasu to attract jobs and businesses and services from the private sector is also attributable to the census. So if you're going to open up a new business in Havasu, you're going to look at the demographics and the numbers and traffic counts, and that plays a big part in what we can attract to Havasu for restaurants and services and jobs and those types of things. So
excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So we need your help. Yes.
Homeowners that have homes here that are part-time, what is the guideline?
I missed that part. Yeah, that's good. That's one of the biggest impacts for Lake Havasu City is that we have a lot of folks that own a second home here or are part-time residents, but part-time is like 9 months. They need to count Lake Havasu City as their home, not where their summer home may be. The reason why is because they use these roads and these parks and these services, these hospitals, these types of things, so they need to be counted here. So the guideline is if you primarily spend most of your time here in Lake Havasu City, count Lake Havasu City. Or if you're here for 6 months a year, count Lake Havasu City. So really, 6 months is good. Yeah, it's 6 months and 1 day is what they say. But,
or if in doubt, check the box for Havasu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't want to have like a hard date. Just fill it out, put Havasu, and we'll be good to go. But yeah.
Might as well do it here.
Sure. Yeah, so it's so important that they do, and that's the timing, as you all know, being from Lake Havasu City, is where the Census Day actually is the day that a lot of folks transition. April 1st, a lot of folks go to their summer home or whatnot. Mm-hmm. So that's why the date's so critical. So that's why anywhere you go, just talk about the census. Mm-hmm. In the grocery store line, at church. Just help you by filling out the U.S. Census. But thank you for all of that. The next thing that I know is on a lot of people's minds is, and on the news cycles, is the coronavirus. So Jess and I thought we would address what we're doing from a local perspective so that we can let you know that we recognize that those fears are very real for folks. But in this case, the Mojave County Department of Public Health is taking the lead, working in direct concert with the CDC and the Arizona Department of Health Services. So we have a task force of public safety personnel and other leaders in the healthcare community coming together to bring out all of the preparation plans that are already exist. They just have to be brought out and reviewed, and so identifying places of public, large public gathering places, so like schools and those types of things, and how we can address those types of issues should they arise here in Lake Havasu City. I'll let Jess talk a little bit more about some of the specifics on that.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Hit on the point. What our role right now is to have these discussions with the medical community, with the county, with the state, with the CDC, and try to get ahead and make sure that we're prepared for all these things. So, the coronavirus, or they call it now the COVID-19, which is a strain of the coronavirus, is real similar in symptoms to the flu. So we look at these things very closely and want to make sure that people aren't overreacting in terms of when the symptoms occur. But you got to be precautious. Wash your hands and keep a clean environment and those types of things. From the city's perspective, we're working real hard on monitoring and assessing, and if anything's going to happen, we're going to react very, very quickly. We've already taken action with our fire professionals and our police professionals to ensure that those folks are in good hands and understand kind of some of the dynamics of what's occurring there. It's a strain of the flu, right? But one of the things that makes this the COVID-19 a little unique than the normal flu is that it remains on a surface for days, like 9 or 10 days. So as opposed to a flu strain that'll last on a surface for a matter of 24 or 48 hours. So that's the difference. The good news about living in Lake Havasu City is that another thing that kills that strain is heat. So once temperatures get above 85, 86 degrees, it kills the virus. So what a great place to live, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so we just ask you to do common stuff. Wash your hands regularly. Yes. Cover your nose and mouth. If you sneeze, if you're not feeling good, stay home. Just all the normal things that we were told when we were kids. That's all we need to do. And then if you think you've washed your hands enough, wash them one more time, and we should be good. So we've been told from the CDC all the way down to the local health professionals, don't fear. There's no sense in stocking up. Everything is fine. The reason we're sharing this with you is to show you that we have a plan in place should something occur in the Lake Havasu City area. So hopefully that eases any of your fears. We understand the news cycle is very, very real. And it's alarming many of our citizens, so we just wanted to let you know that we are taking it very seriously and we are prepared should anything occur near our area. So,
do you have the testing kits here?
They would be brought in should there be a need. So if you've been watching the news, the testing kits are delivered quite rapidly in areas that they believe need to have those for testing. So. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to the Riviera, we have some really exciting news out at the Riviera. We've had some meetings since the last time that we've met. Just by way of introduction, again, the Riviera project is an area along the lakeside of Lake Havasu City. It's in between Mulberry and Acoma as you're heading up Highway 95. You'll see a stoplight across Highway 95 that's currently not operable. With some barricades into what is going to be a really beautiful neighborhood that's going to be a great addition for Lake Havasu City. At the end of this parkway is going to be Arizona's first state park in over 20 years. So it'll be a mainland boat launch facility with some additional amenities. There also will allow access into some private development that will be home to 5 different neighborhoods at full development. So the good news is the first lots have been sold. And so we will start seeing some vertical development very, very soon. They also will be opening up the neighborhood. Well, I say this a little probably too soon. We'll maybe open the neighborhood if there's a lot of heavy equipment out there right now. Tons of heavy equipment moving lots and lots of dirt. So until there's something for us to actually all go out there and drive in and see, we're probably going to keep the road closed just for safety. But just as soon as those get out of the way and there's something for us to see, we then will open those roads up. The stoplight will be operable, and you'll be able to go in there. We believe that the state park facility will open late summer of this year. It'll open up in phases, so it'll start with a boat launch facility. And then in future phases, there'll be restaurant facilities for people to enjoy, marina services for people to enjoy, concierge level marina services, and then the development will happen on the private side. So very exciting news. We're so proud of our partners at Riviera for everything that they've done and continue to do. Those of you that have been following us for a long time know this is a long time coming, but we worked really hard. This was a kind of a unique situation because it was a private-public partnership that started with the private development that had these land holdings, the city being one of the public partners, and then Arizona State Parks being another public partner. And right as everything was signed, there were some staff changes at the state park executive level, which caused a little bit of delays, and so we had to work our way through all of these things one more time. So it was almost like we had to do it twice. But fortunately, through the help of our local representation with Senator Borelli and his office and Governor Ducey, we've been able to really push through and make all of those things happen. So pretty exciting news that pretty soon we'll be able to drive that parkway and be able to see these gorgeous views out there. Dave?
Will you be using that overpass at Windsor?
The Windsor Pass. So the question is about how is the state park passes going to work? So this development is, although it's an Arizona State Park, being developed in partnership with Arizona State Parks, the money that's being used to build this park is private money. So it's a concessionaire that's using their money, and once the agreement is over, they will turn over the entire park to Arizona State Parks to run the facility. So there will be some sort of a park pass available, but I believe it's going to be an enhancement or a different type of pass. But it'll be allowed to be used in state parks throughout the system. There's about two or three state parks in the Arizona State Park system that have enhancement packages to them for different reasons because of how they were developed. So they're still working through those details. As soon as we know them, we'll share them. So a couple of other things that we have going on is we met with officials from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife this past week. They're an agency that's set up in districts throughout the country. Our district director is based in Albuquerque, and her team traveled out here to talk about some of their future plans that they have in the area. And Jess, if you want to maybe highlight a couple of their thoughts.
Yes, we had conversations. We had a strategic planning session a couple months back, and they came to Havasu and talked to some folks and some leaders in the community about what this might look like. Would Havasu be interested in some type of a visitor center? So again, this is a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and they have fingers obviously out in the area, down at Bill Williams, up in the Needles area. But what would a facility look like if they're able to combine all these different operations and open up a visitor center and an operational center here in Lake Havasu City? So we're very supportive of those efforts. They're talking about maybe including other Department of Interior agencies in that facility, so maybe a BLM and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services and the other services that could be contained there. Maybe there's some city functions that we could partner with them as well too. But how exciting would it be that if you want to learn more about U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, that you got to come to Havasu to do it, and there'd be a new amazing facility that people could visit and learn and experience. So we're very supportive of their efforts. We had meetings with the regional director and some leadership that came out of New Mexico just last week or this week. Sometimes days run together, and so I had some conversations with them. They were very, very excited about this possibility. So it looks like they're going to tee it up and then be asking for funds to come from DC that would allow for such construction. So, according to them, as far as the number of visitors that visit their services in the area, the refuge and otherwise, we're at top 2, I believe, in the country. So we're a top priority for them, and it would be an amazing facility and a big boom to Havasu.
Yeah, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife have 2 refuges.
Refuges?
Refuges? I think that's the first time I ever even said that word.
Refugee?
Yeah. So it's refugees?
Refugee?
Refugees.
Okay, so those things, we have 2 of them. And we have the Bill Williams Refuge, and then we have the Havasu Wildlife Refuge. The Havasu Wildlife starts in Lake Havasu City and heads up towards like the Needles area, and then the Bill Williams is down by the Bill Williams Bridge. And so right now they're kind of separated, and to bring them all located right here in a regional area would be a fantastic idea. We fully support it, and anything we can do to help them, we're excited to be able to do that. So coming up, we have a council meeting on Tuesday. A couple of highlights that we have is the airport master plan will be coming forward. This has been a project of the city for about 18 months or so. So those of you that are not airport users or aviation people, I'm happy to tell you our airport is so busy. There are so many people that go to our airport, and it provides a huge economic boom to our economy. again, you'd be really surprised to hear that if you don't have anything to do with aviation, because you wouldn't go out there and there's no commercial flights and there's nothing for me, so why would it be doing anything? But it's doing great things out there. But the best part about airports, and our airport specifically, is it's almost over 90% funded by federal dollars or state transportation dollars. So the impact to our general fund is nothing, but the returns are huge from the economic development that it brings. But in order to get all that money from the FAA and the State Department of Transportation, we have to have an updated master plan every 10 years, is it?
10 years?
Yeah, every 10 years. So our 10 years is up, and we have to get the master plan redone. I mean, this is basically a long look at what the airport would look like in the future. We do have a focus on there for commercial air service. That just means it's in the plan.
That means we're trying.
Yeah, we're trying hard. We're trying, but aviation is very tricky in the commercial sector. Any of you who have tried to book an airline ticket see the prices rising and the number of seats decreasing, supply and demand, real basic. But we don't have as many flights out of Las Vegas or Phoenix as we used to have to as many destinations. Still there, but just not as many seats are going out. So it's very tricky and very competitive space. And we are working on it, and that is a component that's in this master plan, along with some additional employment uses that will be identified, hangar use stuff. Any other highlights in that plan?
Well, I think the important thing is to look at it. There's a lot of activity that's occurring out there, and some studies have said that it generates about $38 million in economic activity in Havasu every year. So we have a lot of medical professionals that fly in or that provide services. So we there's just a few examples. But so lot's happening, but there's a whole lot more that can happen. It's really a blank slate, especially that land south of the airport. And so we're making some putting together some different ideas on how we could expand that, what that airport would look like in 10, 20, 50 years from now. And so that's what we're going through right now. Yeah. But we sometimes we get a little bit of tunnel vision in terms of what we see out there today and the decisions we make on a day-to-day basis. So it's very important for council, myself, the staff, and the community to take a big step back and say, okay, what's the big picture? What should this look like over the course of a long period of time? And then we get back to our day-to-day stuff to try to get towards that goal.
Mm-hmm. Another item that's going to be on our agenda and on Tuesday at our next council meeting is, it's springtime in Lake Havasu, so it would not be complete without us throwing some rocks on the streets, right? Chip seal is coming back, but I'm excited to tell you that I always say this, before I was elected, I hated chip seal. I thought that is the stupidest idea to throw a bunch of tar and rocks on the road. And then I became elected, and I thought, I love chip seal. It's so affordable and such a great way to maintain our streets. But we have been working on a lot of different treatments over the years. So I'll talk a little bit about roadways and how we take care of roadways. The idea is that all roadways, every 10 years, we would touch them with some sort of treatment. So whether that is a fog seal, a chip seal, a complete repave, but every 10 years, all of the roads get some sort of attention. And that allows us to be able to get through all of the community, keep the roads in good working order, and also be very good stewards to the taxpayers of Lake Havasu City. So this year, we're doing chip seal, but only about 3.8% of the total work would be chip seal. Generally, it's closer to 8, 9, even 10%. But through the last couple of years, we've been using some other treatments that have proved affordable and effective that we're able to use. And we also have some new roadways that have been repaved that we don't need to put chip seal on so quick. That's most effective on roads that are a little bit older in years. So we'll be doing and discussing that at the council meeting, but anticipate, as we do every spring, some of the roads having the chip seal. We will have 3 sweeps that come through. We'll throw down the tar and the chips, and then we'll come through and sweep up the excess, come back, sweep up even more excess, and then come back and sweep up even more excess. So we're trying to do it in a way that is the least impact to residents, but also the best interest of all of us as taxpayers to make sure we have good and maintained roadways. So we'll talk about that on Tuesday, and I am excited that we're not using as much chip seal as we have in the past. So, you have anything on roads?
Sure. So, You know, it's important for the city to touch our roads once every 10 years. So we want to get in a position where we're touching our roads once every 10 years, all the roads throughout the community. As the mayor indicated, about 3.8% of the roads will be touched by chip seal this year. That equates to about 16 miles throughout the community that'll receive the chip seal application. And then we're looking at other measures, as you indicated, Mayor, that fog seal, micro seal, and some other applications that'll take our total product of touching the road with different applications up to that 10% level. So then we're able to touch the roads once every 10 years. So probably the biggest road that we're looking at chip sealing this year is on Mcsalley Avenue from Smoke Tree West down to Lake Havasu Avenue. So that's a major road, and it's going to impact some folks and businesses in the area. We try to do the best we can in terms of notices and getting the crews in and out, but we need to make sure that we're maintaining that road. As far as cost, it's important to put some numbers on it. This year, the cost per square foot for chip seal was a little higher than it was last year. We're up to $2.15 per square foot. So that 16 miles will end up costing us, the city, the taxpayers, about just short of $800,000. We're talking about other applications. Now this is something that's just an idea that we're gonna maybe look at for next year's budget, and right now they're just ideas, and we have more ideas than we have money, so I take that in consideration. But as we evaluate other areas where we're looking at a mill and where you tear up the road and put pavement down, one of the areas we're looking at is McCulloch from on the other side of Smoke Tree up to Tacoma. You walk in that area, all you see is crack seal and tar everywhere, and it's we need to do something in that area. But if we milled that area and put pavement down, again, chip seal is $2.15 a square yard. If we do the pavement like we're hoping to do and we're thinking about doing, and see if we have the resources to accomplish this, you're talking about upwards about $12 per square yard. So that you can see the cost difference in terms of what it takes to maintain our roads.
See why I like chip seal all of a sudden? Yeah. Dave?
Mayor, the thing is, you're talking on color, it's just really true, but how about industrial? You have industrial that has boat traffic, truck traffic, everything you can see down through, all the way to the Windsor Ramp. That thing has been packed so many times. What are you going to do about that place, sir? I mean, it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I believe industrial, when I was looking at the list of roads, industrial's on the list of roads. I'm not sure that section, but some section of industrial is on the list. I read it earlier this week, so I don't have it
on the council agenda on Tuesday, and it's part of the agenda packet. It'll be posted here probably tomorrow, you think, Kelly, or today. So jump on the city's website, you'll see the agenda packet and go to the item, and all those roads are identified in terms of what's going to receive that chip seal treatment. And again, we have more applications coming. So
yeah. So yeah, let's get through all of our stuff, and we'll come back to questions so that we can get through a couple. We have a few more items, then we're going to open up, and any questions you guys have, we'll be here to answer them. A couple of other things that we wanted to talk about is we thought Senator Borelli was going to be here, but Senator Borelli, Representative Biasucci, and Representative Cobb are working really, really hard for us down in Phoenix right now. They're still in session. They're hoping, right now they're in the budget negotiation phase. They've been in that phase for a long time. They actually started it before the session started, but they're moving pretty quick. A couple of cool things that they're working on for us is the short-term rentals. We've talked about that several times over the last 4 or 5 years about the impacts of short-term rentals. It looks like we're going to get a little bit of relief. We spoke with the governor when he was here last month. We've also been working really hard with our legislative contingent, and we also went down to the Capitol since we last saw each other, and we talked to other representatives about what we can do to ensure that we get some tools to help that. Again, we're not looking to get rid of them, not at all. Vacation rentals have been a thing in Lake Havasu City since Lake Havasu City was created, so we're totally cool with that. We just need to make sure that we can ensure that all of our full-time residents can get an enjoyable night's sleep and not have different folks in and out of their neighborhood at all hours of the day. And it looks like some of these things will accomplish that. There's 5 bills total, so I'm not going to talk any specifics because there's so many different bills that they're working in, but it looks like some relief is going to happen in that area, and we'll keep you guys posted. Actually, I would think by next time we meet, those bills will have made it either died or made their way through. So one of the two. We'll have answers then, but they're working hard on it. Also, SLIF, which is our state lake
Improvement fund.
improvement fund. It's been so long. We used to have it in Arizona for a long time, and then they swept it, and so we haven't been able to even say the word for probably 8 years.
Yeah.
So SLIF funds are really important for our region, because most of all the revenue that comes from or that was put into SLIF came from our region. So the SLIF is funded through the taxes that people that fill up their boats with gasoline pay. And then it's taken, there's some math calculation, it's actually every 3 years in statute where they do some calculation of how much a percentage is that is attributed to boats, and then they put it into the SLIF fund, and then you apply basically for grants. Some of the things that we've done in Lake Havasu City with those grants are lake improvements along the shorelines, so seawalls and some erosion measures. Police boats have been purchased both by the city and also by the county. So have been all purchased with SLIF dollars. Our mobile command center was purchased with SLIF dollars. Fireboat, which we need a new fireboat and police boat. So it's good that SLIF's coming back because we need this.
Yeah.
So they're working really hard to be able to get the SLIF dollars back, which again, most of it's generated here, so most of it comes back here. And so there's a lot of good uses. I know there's some initial thoughts about what we would apply for.
Oh, we have lots of thoughts
Yeah.
of how we could spend these the dollars, but we're talking about it's basically if it pushes and it moves through. So if SLIF was restored, it'd be $5 million that would be shared amongst all the river cities. So and then every year there'd be a competitive process. We all as cities we put together what we think would be our highest priority, and then we hope and pray that we get selected for a project, and then we can start addressing some of our needs.
And then the last thing that we're working on is Highway 95. We've talked about it many times. It is a wreck, and we know it's a wreck, but it's we call it Highway 95, but it's really State Route 95, meaning the state has to pay for it, not the city. But we've been doing everything that we can to strong arm our leaders to do it, and we didn't have to do very much work because we have Representative Gina Cobb is one of our representatives based out of Kingman, and she's the appropriations chair in the House. So she has the checkbook. So that's a good person to know. And so she's leading the way, followed right behind by Senator Borelli and Representative Biasucci, have really led the way to try and get some one-time fundings to take care of Highway 95 in the whole part of 95. Now let's go down a notch and get over to the Kiowa intersection where you chatter and lose your teeth going through there. That is coming back. They promised us an overlay when they were doing that project out there, but then the weather got too cold, and I guess the application doesn't do whatever it does when cold. So it's now in the spring. They're going to come back and micro seal that, which is a completely different project than Highway 95 as a whole. So really exciting news on that front. Hopefully when we meet again in April, we'll be able to tell you if it made it in the budget, and if so, what that means for Lake Havasu City. But they're working really hard, and we appreciate all their efforts they're doing on behalf of Lake Havasu City. We also have, over the last month, we were able to meet with our federal delegation, which was really exciting. Vice Mayor Lane and myself drove up to Bullhead City and joined Bullhead City Mayor Tom Brady and council members from Bullhead City, and Kingman Mayor Jen Miles and Kingman City Council members to meet with Senator Kirsten Sinema, who was in the area, and she's working very hard in DC, and she was able to talk about some of her initiatives where it comes to healthcare, access to healthcare, and also projects for Arizona. She's very interested in veterans healthcare, very interested in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Facility that we talked about. So she's a good partner and doing good work for us in DC. Then we had the opportunity to meet with Senator Martha Mcsalley, who was in Lake Havasu as well, and we were able to talk to her. She was talking to us about access for seniors and Medicare on your prescription health benefits, which we know is a really important issue for many of the seniors that live in Lake Havasu City. She just introduced a bill this last week that has bipartisan support to help lower prescription drug costs. So we're really glad to build those relationships. Arizona is in a really unique space right now. We had long-time serving U.S. senators for a very long time. with Senator McCain, Senator Kyle, and then Senator Flake, who was only in the Senate for one 6-year term, but prior to that, he was a U.S. Congressman from Arizona. So, we had some continuity, and we knew and had relationships already built with these folks. And we don't have that yet. So we're building relationships. So anytime that we have an opportunity to get in front of our federal delegation, we do that. And the good news is they both remembered us when we walked in the room. So that's good, right? So we're doing something right to build that relationship. Yeah, no, it was with a smile. So I was like, all right, phew. So that.
Yeah, how did they remember us?
Yeah, no, it was good. They had a smile. So both of them from their office knew who we were, and so we're making good inroads there. And then of course, U.S. Congressman Paul Gosar. I don't ever want to take for granted the great relationship we have with Congressman Gosar in his office, but he single-handedly has helped Lake Havasu City with so many efforts. And many of you do know him because he's in this district. Even though he has one of the largest land districts in Arizona, he's here at least once a month. But his district goes all the way from like Yavapai County, and it makes this huge C along western Arizona, and then kind of circles back into like the Buckeye West Valley area. So he has a really, really huge district, but he's doing good work, and he was here as well. So we're excited that we were able to meet with all of them, continue to build our relationships. And the way I describe it when I meet with them in their office is, we don't really have an ask right now, but we do want you to answer the phone when we do have an ask, and they appreciate that. So it's a good partnership that we're having. We've also had this week, for those of you that aren't in school, which I don't think any of us are anymore, but all of our elementary school students are celebrating reading in Dr. Seuss's birthday. And so many of myself and many of our council members have been inside classrooms throughout this last week, reading books. And Dr. Seuss books you think are easy, until you're an adult and you read one in front of kids. Yeah. What are these words? And it's every time I'm like, oh, it's a Dr. Seuss book. That won't be a problem. And it's a problem. So you should read the book before you read it out in front of people. There's a Dr. Seuss book I didn't even know existed. It's something about the alphabet. It goes from A to Z. Yeah, it's like a chapter book for Dr. Seuss, and they wanted me to read this in front of the classroom, and I will practice next time for sure. But all of our students are doing really good things. I mean, going in our classrooms, and we were in classrooms across the city. So like Havasu Unified School District classrooms, HPA classrooms, Calvary classrooms, Our Lady of the Lake Catholic School classrooms, and Telus classrooms. So we were in classrooms across the entire community, and all of our students are doing such amazing work. So if you get an opportunity to talk to your children or your grandchildren about what they're doing in school, they're doing such good things. So really proud of that for sure. So we also have we also went to, this afternoon actually, we have NOVA, which is our NOVA graduation, which is, we might remember it as kind of like the DARE program when either we went to school or our kids went to school. NOVA is a much larger program taught by our police department and our school resource officers. They teach this curriculum over several sessions to all fourth graders in the school system. And it's culminated with a really fun celebration at the Aquatic Center with award winners and contest winners, pizza, which kid doesn't like pizza, and then a pool party at the Aquatic Center. We're going to do that actually right after we meet here this morning. So pretty exciting stuff, and it's a great partnership that our police department has with students. It's a great way for people to understand the importance of our police department and that they're here to help. And in Lake Havasu City, we're so proud of the work that our police and public safety personnel across the entire city and region do for us. They're always there when we need them, whether it's through dialing 911 and having someone roll out, or if they're on the street available to assist. And so it's a great outreach that we're able to do, and we're proud to be a part of that. All right, we're getting ready to go to the section of the morning that's to answer any questions you have on your mind. But before I do that, I would like to introduce some of my colleagues on council. We have Vice Mayor David Lane in the back. Welcome. And then we have City Council Member Donna McCoy. thank you for your continued support and being here. And without any further ado, do you have anything, Jess, before we open it up?
You want to do?
Oh yeah, that's a great thing. Yeah, we had this really cool opportunity through the Marine Corps League, which they're actually represented here as well. We have Bud Watts and Kim McCoy that are here this morning, and they have been in contact with Hawaii, and there's an opportunity for us to get a piece of the USS Arizona. So a piece of the steel. Not only is there an opportunity, it's a done deal to the efforts of the Marine Corps League. So now they're going to send some divers down there and cut out a piece of the USS Arizona and then bring it here to Lake Havasu City, and then we will display it in a place in Lake Havasu City. And I don't know if Bud or Kim, if you want to say a few words about it. If so, you have to come stand awkwardly close to Jess and I so we can pick you up on the microphone. Yeah, but we've had several meetings talking about where and the possibilities, and we're really fortunate to have the Marine Corps League leading this effort and creating this partnership. You get right?
Thank you. About 3 months ago, one of our members, Gus Bader, pulled me aside and he said, Bud, do you have any idea that there's a relics program where we may be able to, as us, the Marine Corps League military organization, might be able to receive a piece of the USS Arizona? And I said, no, but tell me. And so he gave me the information that he had, and I eventually got in touch with an Ensign de Leon who is with that relics program in Pearl Harbor. And since then, I got emails that will probably fill the screen. But about a week ago, I got an email from her that indicated that yes, we were recommended to get a piece. And so she indicated what size, let us know. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that go along with that. This is a piece of a ship, and we asked for a 4x5 piece, and it looks like that's going to be granted.
4 foot by 5 feet?
Yep, 4 foot by 5 foot. And then there's a lot of other issues. It's going to take 8 to 12 months in order for us to make that happen, and coordinating with them and the CBs. They will crate it up. Once it's all taken care of on that end, they will crate it up. And then it's up to us to get it here. Well, Kim and I are both very familiar, or very somewhat good friends with the colonel down at Marine Corps Station Yuma. And we're going to get in touch with him and see if they have any flights that are going into Hawaii. And if not, maybe Miramar does. And we would like maybe Kim, myself, and a couple others jump on the plane with them, go to Hawaii and actually receive that piece for us and bring it home. So if that doesn't work with the Marine Corps side of it, we're going to hit up Luke and see if maybe they can work that out as well. But one way or another, we were going to bring this to Lake Havasu. And is it?
We're working on it. Yeah, it's not 100%, but they're going to take it to their board. We're trying to put it down like in the visitor center, or the village area, or somewhere that has great exposure for folks.
Yeah, we just want it in an area where we have a lot of ped traffic, but also it's going to be inside, so it'll be protected. And we think we maybe have that worked out. But as of today, this is the final piece of paper. This is basically a waiver, and it's a waiver in a sense, but basically at the end it says, I understand the Navy reserves the right to take back the relic entrusted to my organization as it finds that the relic has been handled contrary to the spirit of the agreement. And if we ever do want to get rid of it, that we have to turn it back into the Navy. That's all this is, a formality. This goes back to them and we're done. They will then start the process of getting the piece for us, and they will let us know. I will again send another email to Ensign de Leon and indicate what our situation is and where we plan on doing it, and from that point on we should be good to go, and it's just a matter of when we get it.
Yeah, so I think the only thing waiting on this document here is my signature, which we didn't even plan this, but we're going to do this. I just have a cheap Bic pen, but I would have brought a fancy pen. So we'll actually sign it right here with all of you, and we'll make history right here like Havasu City.
I told them, whatever you do, don't leave today without me getting a hold of you.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, I have a pen for you.
Oh, Yeah. I don't know what color it's gonna go. Oh, yeah.
The mayor was a big part of this.
There you are. Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember McCoy, for the bling.
The mayor was a big part of this. Having the city back us in this and receiving this was a huge part of it, because even in the emails, Vincent De Leon got back to me and said, you know, if we need to, can we contact the mayor? And I said, absolutely, let me know and we'll make that happen. So that was a big portion. Thank you for your support.
My pleasure.
And yours too, Jeff.
You bet.
Hopefully 8 to 12 months, we'll have it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for all your work. Yeah, good job, guys. Amazing.
Yeah, congratulations to the Marine Corps League. We do have some guests with us that are doing great work. So I already talked all about you guys, but we have Senator Borelli and Representative Biasucci. Come on up and they're doing great work for us. You guys stand between us. But thank you. Good to see you.
You already spoke about us?
I spoke so great about all the work you're doing for us. Yeah.
I'm Sonny Borelli. This is Leo Biasucci. We approve that message.
Yeah.
Thank you. We don't. I didn't have a prepared speech, so I borrowed one from Nancy Pelosi.
He's all got props, doesn't he?
I have props. I'm not very smart, so I gotta have props. So Leo's a smart guy, so I'm the comic relief. But I always say this. It's an honor to serve, and I'm very pleased that to continue, have your continued support. Because without you, we can't get things accomplished. And we can't get things accomplished without building relationships and coalitions, especially having a new member of the legislative team, Leo Biasucci, who's been phenomenal. He was our Rookie of the Year last year. He called our Rookie of the Year because he was the first freshman to get a bill up through the House, through the Senate, and up on the governor's desk before anybody else, and that was really great. So he says, wow, that didn't seem very hard. I'm like, well, yeah, stand by for the ambush. So, we're trying to get some good things going on. We got some things in the budget that are still intact. Right now, we're just kind of battling with the House, and the legislature's got a good budget right now. Now we're just battling with the governor to try to keep things in, and of course, it's a little this, a little that, now it is. But Leo, let Leo go ahead and talk about it, because he's got some good things.
Yeah, I'll give you guys just a quick update really fast. Everybody knows about that fantastic $32 fee on your registration. Well, I ran a bill this year. Senator Burley was co-sponsor, as well as Representative Cobb. It passed the House to get repealed immediately. So that is something that, that's your money. That shouldn't have been done in the first place. It's an extra tax. It's not a fee. And so now it's up to the Senate. So bug Senator Borelli to make sure he gets his people on board.
You don't have to bug me. I'm the majority whip, so I'm already whipping votes on this because it's so vital that we keep the majority in the state legislature. It passed out of the House barely with 31, and when the 31st Republican went on board, then finally a couple of smart Democrats jumped on board, but we need 31. But it's kind of like one representative jumped over, then the rest of them kind of had cover because of that district's in this, we call the state of Maricopa. Now it's over in the Senate, and now. Even though we're 17-13 Republican versus Democrat, it's still going to get difficult because we need to have 16 votes to pass it. And there's a couple of Republicans that are in very, very extremely moderate districts. So I don't know which way they're going to go on that. So I can only apply so much pressure before they really start taking a whip away from me. So, but I don't use a whip. That's just.
But hopefully we can get that through. We're doing some other things as well. Just in case it does not get repealed, we have some tax cuts that we're putting into the budget to make sure that money gets back to you one way or another. So I hope you guys all realize that sometimes whether somebody vetoes it or the Dems kill the bill, we have backups to make sure that we can get that money back, and we're working on that now in the budget. Before Senator Burley talks about the veterans tax cut, which we'll get into, I do want to talk about also Highway 95. We have a bill, also co-sponsored, to repave 95 on Lake Havasu completely. Needs to be redone, right? Yeah. Absolutely. We're in a year right now where we have a lot of excess money at the state legislature. So as conservatives and as fiscal conservatives, our main goal is when we have extra money, that means what? We're overtaxing you, right? This is where the money comes from. It's tax dollars. So our main goal is to get that back to you in one way or another, whether it's tax cuts or doing something like our highways infrastructure, which is extremely needed in our whole area. So we have a bill to redo that. Hopefully that goes through. And then a great bill for veterans, which Sonny can jump into right now.
Well, the veterans exemption, which is the military retirees exemption, we for a couple of years it was $2,000 you could exempt. Then we got it jumped up to $35,000 or $3,500, and then of course this year the governor's like, you know what, this is ridiculous. You know, we've been at war for 18 years, and I'm going to remind my colleagues that we have a group of individuals that's going to be retiring in a couple of years, and you know the way it all pencils out, everybody thinks, well, this is, you know, it's a big hit. It's $45 million, and I kind of question that $45 million because the average rank that retirees for the enlisted side is E7, so that's actually under $24,000. Well, the personal exemption for a single person is $12,000. Married is $24,000. So I don't know very many veterans that retired that they're single. So it's just kind of a symbolic thing, but really it affects the senior grades on the officer side. When you really pencil it out, it's not that much because what do? What do? We retire, we come here, we buy homes, especially in Lake Havasu, which is great. We're buying homes. We're contributing to the local school districts, and everything is taxed. All the utilities are taxed. Thanks, Governor.
Oh, the state law would.
We're working on that. But I mean, everything is taxed. So I mean, everything goes right to that local community. So it all pencils out. I don't see it as a hit, but what I see it is, it's an economic driver because we're bringing very highly skilled, well-disciplined people to the workforce that want to lay down roots in Arizona, build families, and that kind of stuff. But the other thing the veterans home, which is sort of like this. It's for senior assisted living for veterans, and it's going to be, there's a certain criteria for them to qualify for. Right now, I have 30 acres that's been donated by the private sector in Kingman. So the state's got to put up a match to match with the federal government. We put up 35%, which is $19 million, and the federal government comes in with the other $35 million. So we're looking for, think about this, $55 million in construction costs coming to Mojave County. That is extremely great because that's also going to create jobs, construction jobs. But not only that, but once it's built, and you know that, you guys around here know that it's the cooks, bakers, and candlestick makers that make things happen, right? You're going to have culinary people. You're going to have nursing staff, that kind of thing. And Mojave County Community College got a great nursing program, so we even have a nice workforce to draw from. So that's agreed to in the House budget and the Senate budget. Now we just got to convince the governor to make sure that stays in there, or Leo and I go on vacation. So,
yes. Yeah. I'm going to touch on one more bill, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll ask some questions.
I just have a question. Yeah. That $32 added to our license fees was put on there on Friday night, but nobody had a week. None of us knew about it. Right. Most of us are all vets and everything else. Right. So we just got our bill for our new license for our trailer, $23. But then there's a $32 fee that you try to tell us, we know for months you've been talking about doing away with it.
Right.
If they passed it on a Friday night, do the same thing now.
So
go back Friday and tell them it's done.
Yeah.
So we have to pay it, and we're not going to get that back.
We pay it too, and
that's true, but we're not going to get it back.
Well,
so I'll say this. So that was passed in 2018. So I wasn't there. Sonny voted no, which I'll give that one. Right. So we repealed it last year to go into effect of June of 2021. My bill is saying get rid of it now. Because if we're saying that we have all this extra money in the budget, we have $1 billion in our rainy day fund, how do we as a legislature look at you and say, we're also going to tax you an extra $32, even though we have all this money? Yeah. I mean, I can't justify that. I know Sonny can't justify that. So you're right. The problem is this. You have a House, a Senate, and a governor. So anything to be repealed has to go through the process.
Every one of them has been confronted on this issue.
Correct.
And none of them has done anything to stop it.
Till now.
Well, it's not going to stop till 21.
No, they're bringing it up.
My bill that passed the House.
Then we should get it done like in July.
It will be. My bill that passed the House, that just passed the House last week, repeals it now, like immediately. The problem is, like I said, you have steps in the process of repealing. We got to hope, because the Dems have come out, not all of them, a few switched. They said, none of my the minority leader in the Democratic Party said, none of my constituents are complaining about this $32 fee, Representative Biasucci. You're misguided, you're being lied to. And I said, I've never heard anybody say, I love this fee. Like, this is fantastic. I've never heard that in my life.
All these retired people here, all these retired folks here are paying that $32.
Absolutely.
And
it's not right.
It's not right.
It's not right. And that's why I put that bill now. Because I said, this is not right. My constituents are coming to me, and it is a tax put on you that should never have been done. Period.
That's right.
So now we're trying to get it back. So we're fighting for that. But like I said, I'm hoping the Senate gets on board. I'm hoping the governor gets on board, but we're going to find out if that's the case in about a few weeks.
I personally called the representatives and the governor and told them we can vote you out.
Absolutely, and keep doing that. I urge everybody.
Well,
Except for Sonny.
Wait.
Don't talk about.
Call those representatives.
The Marines are okay.
But those representatives, they're on the D side, and they love a tax, and they don't want to see any tax or tax credits go down.
Maybe we should have the Marines take over the state
I
capital.
kind of agree. There's just one. I need one more, then they'll all be outnumbered.
And we'll go to the question in the back. Real quick, I want to touch on one more thing before we go to another.
Is there going to be a refund for people that already paid it?
No, I wish. We love spending money. I wish.
And this is what and it's all about how things are worded. You know, they say we have a surplus, and then we have a surplus is what you have after you pay all your bills. That's the real reality, right? Extra money is what you have before your car breaks down. Okay, that's the rainy day fund. We need to keep that in there just in case the car breaks down. But really, realistically, we do have a huge extra money. And there are folks that want to. We have one representative that wants. Actually, she's a senator now, but she wants to spend $500 million on her pet projects all over in the valley. So, like I said, it's about building relationships, and we have to build it with rural Arizona representatives in the legislature because we're outnumbered in the state of Maricopa. So that's very important that we have the rural caucus is very strong, and we even have the Democrats even in the rural caucus because we have to remind them that if we don't do this, we're all going to get all run over because we've been run over for years. So we have to build that coalition. And there's some good Democrats out there, but their party just literally stands on their neck, which is really crazy. But there's some really good people that really care about them. And like you said, some of them, like was it Hernandez? Yeah, Hernandez has said, none of my people have complained about this. And this goes back to 8 years ago when I was standing on the House floor. I'm standing around going, oh my God, how did I get here? I mean, I grew up in a broken home. I dropped out of high school. I joined the Marine Corps. I survived that. And I'm standing on the House floor going, wow, how in the heck? There's some really accomplished people in this room. My colleagues are really, all these fancy diplomas on the wall. 2 months later, I'm hearing all these arguments on the House floor, and I'm like, how in the hell did you get here? Because they have no clue what's really going on in their district. We are so blessed that we can come into town in any restaurant or store. Hey, Sonny. Hey, Leo. Hey, Cal. We can go everywhere. Everybody knows us. Those guys, I don't think that they even go with their people. I don't even think they shop with their people. It's amazing how distant they are from their own constituents. But anyway.
And then real quick, I'll touch on one more bill, and then we'll wrap up. You guys have also heard about the gas tax bill.
Yeah, right.
Again, we are fighting to kill that bill.
We know where that came from.
Right. And so I just want to make it clear really quickly because there's no argument that we need to fix our roads. I think we all can agree about that in this room, right? We need to make sure our highways are fixed, are repaired. The difference is, I believe, we believe we have the money in the budget to do it. We have online sales tax that went through that's bringing in 3 times what we anticipated. So I just want to say the fundamental difference is this. We believe that we have the money to spend. The other side believes that we need to continue to tax to spend more. And we're not going to allow that to happen. We're going to fight to the nail to make sure that these taxes do not go through because we have a surplus. And it's not right, again, just like the $32 fee, it's not right to throw this tax on. And plus, here's the thing we have to remember. We're moving away from gasoline, right? More electric vehicles, cars get higher gas per mileage. This is not the long-term fix that they're claiming it is. Like, we're moving, in 10 years, who knows if gasoline will even be 10% of what we're using now. So if there is a fix, we'll have to figure something else out, but it's not the gas tax. Last thing I want to leave on, Cal and Jess, I just want to, and not only that, you have Donna, we have such a great relationship. And David in the back. Are you manning the camera, David? Put you to work. Do that. No, I just want to say what a great team we have. It is so important that we have legislators in Phoenix. We have people locally that get along. And Cal and Jess, David, Donna, everybody, we all communicate via text, via emails, via phone calls. Any issues, we talk to each other. That is, like Sonny said, that's hard to find in any kind of legislation or any kind of government aspect.
Even our county supervisors, we're constantly on the phone. Something that pops up, even the recorder, the assessors, they'll find something that's going on and they'll call us up. So we actually have a pretty good communication system going on, that we have a lot of people that are checking and watching things and giving us a heads up. And sometimes there's some sneaky bills that are going through, and especially some of the crazy bills that the Democrats do, and then we get the blast emails. Our email just blows up with 1,000 emails. Vote no on this, and it's like, well, that bill is dead on arrival, so it's not even going anywhere. The gas tax, the Democrats they love that one. But here's the thing: remember that little part in the bill that's not just the gasoline. They want to also tax the electric vehicles, and how they can do that via mileage. Well, how does your insurance company adjust your rates based on your mileage? So that's a major gift for the insurance company, because it's not 5,000 miles a year. Maybe some of y'all, because you're retired and you're enjoying life now, and and I don't have to drive 5,000 miles a year. But for us, it's like I'm driving 35,000 miles a year just going back and forth to Phoenix, and a lot of other people do too. They live here but work up in Kingman. That'll just completely explode their insurance bill. So I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't think about, and of course, if it makes it out of the House, it's dead on arrival in the Senate. I'm going to tell you that right now. It ain't going anywhere.
And just to follow up, last thing is we love hearing from you all as well. Like, so when you email us, continue to do that, because this is how we hear. You're the boots on the ground here. We're in Phoenix. If we don't hear about issues coming from you, then sometimes we don't know. So continue to email us. Continue to email your legislators. Let them know how you feel about certain things, because we listen and we react. We represent you. We're not in office unless you voted us in, and we're going to do what's best for our constituents. So.
Yeah, we do. We have an amazing communication. We have the cities, we have the counties, we have the realtors. Things will pop up. The Realtors Association will call us up. The Chamber of Commerce things pop up. So, this is great.
Yeah.
I love it here.
Thank you very much.
You guys so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the OHV, I'll answer that question. Yeah, we appreciate you guys, and we'll get back on. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right, I'll come. The HOV stickers, so we're surrounded by lots of lands. We have private holdings, we have state land holdings, and we have federal holdings. Lake Havasu City, or the West, is actually very unique. The state of Arizona, believe it or not, only 16% of the entire state is held privately, meaning we have private owners. The rest is all owned by either the federal government, National Park Service, or state lands. State lands people think are state public lands. They're not. They were giving to the state at statehood to preserve for funding for education, and 12 programs total, but primarily K-12 education and universities. The HOV sticker goes to help, that actually doesn't, you need another permit for state lands that many people don't get. The HOV goes to BLM and helps with their public safety officers that they have out there. So that's what, it's a common misnomer that public land, or state lands are public lands. They're not. They are held in trust to be used for the highest use. Not highest and best, the highest use, to get the biggest return for the system and the 12 recipients of funding on that. So we have a question before, then we're going to open up for questions for everyone, but one question that came in they handed it to me when they came in this morning, was about storage units, and there's been a lot of discussion in the newspaper and at our last council meeting about a zoning use that happened out near the mall about storage units. So storage units are hot business in Lake Havasu City. There are not enough of them, and people want more of them, except for citizens that don't want to see them. But there's not a vacant storage rental or storage unit in Lake Havasu City. They are a hot commodity. So we have zoning is worked through the voters of Lake Havasu City, adopted a general plan. Our general plan was adopted in 2016. Has to be adopted every 10 years. The general plan is basically the overarching goals of how zoning will be in our community. That then falls down into what our zoning is. And in a C2 zoning, it allows storage units, among a lot of other uses. There's lots of C2 land in Lake Havasu City, and people see C2 land as a place that they can put storage units. In those storage units, or what we did in the action last week was it was moving from a C2 PD, so a C2 designation plan development, from C2. What the difference was is, would we require the applicant to go through the PD process, which required them to do all of their design review through
landscaping and
colors of
review.
buildings and all that kind of stuff through the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council, which is very ineffective for anybody, or do we allow staff that are the experts in that to do it? And that is all the action was that we did last council meeting. Keep it in the PD and make them come to us to talk about landscaping and colors of buildings, or keep it in the C2 and allow staff to do it. Regardless, storage units were going to go in there. With C2, there was no zoning use action other than that. They were going to be able to do it regardless. We do get a lot of comments about storage units and that they're taking up land that could be used for employment uses, that could be used for light industrial uses, and we hear you and we understand that. But there's also, people have private property rights. If they own the property and it makes sense by the general plan, which is the overarching goals that were given to us by the voters of Lake Havasu City, all of you, then we have to do it. But so that's kind of what the action was. It was a little bit confusing that we were approving storage units around the mall. People don't want to encase the mall, which I agree with that. The intent is to have high uses in that area that draws traffic out to that neighborhood, so that it can fully develop as the way we all have wanted it to develop over all of these years. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If we're gonna have these storage units, why doesn't the city pass an ordinance so all these people that have 6 RVs and 4 boats parked on their lot go to a storage unit, mandatory?
Have you been talking to Marianne?
That's what my wife's behalf.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was like, yeah, you've been talking to Marianne. Okay, so I will explain that. So the comment for those watching at home was, if we're gonna have all these storage units, why don't people put their things in the storage units and not all over their front yard? And I will tell you the most attended public meeting that I had since I've been elected was when we were talking about the general plan in 2015, and people wanted to have some restrictions about what people could park in their front yard. And boy, oh boy, did the citizens of Lake Havasu City show up and say, that is not what we want. We don't want people to tell us what to do, and we want to do what we want to do. And it literally was hundreds and hundreds of people. I mean, it was crazy. So I believe as the community starts to grow and infill, which infill, by the way, means filling in the lots next to you. Somebody did either an onion to me or a letter to the editor saying, what even is infilling? So infilling is infilling the lots between where they're at. And so as we do that, the pendulum, I believe, will swing, and we'll start having more conversation about proper vehicle placement on property and how to cover stuff.
I'm retired from the LA County Fire Department, and on my wife's behalf, there are some homes around here where the local fire department, which by the way is one of the best, should go out and enforce the law that they can't get access to the house if they have a fire. You can't get through there.
Yeah.
So there's a fire safety problem also. And maybe the fire department should have the authority to go out and say, move these out of here, get them out of the way.
Yeah, sir. So the comment is about fire and public safety, getting access into these areas. The code doesn't allow for that right now, but there are some areas that are there. These opportunities that we get in front of you, plant seeds, and it starts a community conversation. Duly noted. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, you threw me for a loop. I thought you were going for the second bridge. Yeah, I thought that's where it was going. Yeah, I thought that's where we were heading. All right, so she mentions about the island and the development on the island and all the excitement that was garnered during that time. A lot of exciting things are happening on the island. If you haven't been on the island in a while, generally the interior of the island is developing very nicely at such a rapid pace. I went out there in the fall, and then I went out another time, and a whole new neighborhood came up. So it is developing. There are some commercial sites that are there. They're not ready for commercial development yet, based on the developers or the owner's intent for that land. But it is there, and then of course the island is encircled with state land, state trust land. So all of basically the shoreline is controlled by state land, including
almost 80% of the island is state land.
Yeah, including things that are there. So a couple of the businesses, like the marina, some of the RV resorts out there are all on state lands, paying state lands a percentage. So a lot of that control is state lands out there, but it is developing very nicely. And eventually we'll have some commercial development out there. The sites are zoned and ready. It's just no one's built it yet. Yes?
What does that mean for a second bridge?
Oh, I had to bring it up. I knew it was going to come.
You didn't see that coming?
Yeah. All right. So the second bridge. So sometimes I wonder about this second bridge, like why we talk about it. Is it because we were always told that we were going to get one back in 1972, or is it because there's actual need? And so we've done some studies. And right now, the current bridge, the London Bridge, our iconic namesake for beautiful Lake Havasu City, it withholds the traffic that we have and the needs. We had a bridge assessment done on it, and it's safe and ready and working and doing all the things it needs to be doing. And so there isn't a definitive need right now. So if somebody says that, well, what about public safety, or what about line dancing on the bridge, or Camaros on the bridge? To that I say we have a mobile command center that we always station over on the island side, as well as public safety personnel and a fireboat that can respond to any needs when the bridge is closed. But because the bridge has been, or the island is developing so nicely, we did have to make an internal policy that we will not close down the bridge for those activities any longer. So everybody's doing their one last activity, like the line dancing on the bridge 2 weekends ago. That was the last line dancing on the actual bridge that the bridge would be closed down. Camaros on the bridge, that was the last time it was going to be closed down. Now, some people don't like that, but as our community grows, some of those things have to change to make sure that people can get in and out of their home sites. So we have the land holdings on the island side. We own that land for a second bridge. We just finished our negotiation with Arizona State Parks for the land right away that we would need on the mainland side. So we are planning for the future. But a second bridge is a $30 to $40 million conversation that we don't have. And we don't have that money. We have a lot of other needs that are pressing that we hear from citizens. So we recognize the importance of a second bridge in our future. But we've made all of the plans necessary to take care of that. We don't have the money right now, nor do we have the need based on our studies. Yes?
I mentioned this quite a while ago. I have never understood why there's 2 lanes off and 1 lane on. If you have a boat and you're trying to go over there, you almost hit the curb. You actually got to hang over that yellow line. And 2 large lines. If you go on the island, you're going to come off.
Yeah, great question. The bridge, that was a change about maybe 15, 20 years ago, because it used to just be 1 on, 1 off, and the lanes were a little wider. Great question. I don't have the answer, but I'll get it for you. Of why. I'm sure there's a reason.
Some of that, the different events that occur on the island itself, everybody comes off the bridge all at once. So it was set up that way to get everybody off the bridge a little, off the island, through the bridge a little bit faster. So that was some of the justification. Bridge is only so wide, so we try to fit as many lanes as possible. But yeah, we've run into those issues.
Yes.
This might put you on the spot, but what's being done to address the issues involved with the homeless population?
Okay, so the question is, what is being done to address the issues with the homeless population? Lake Havasu City, well, every county in the state of Arizona in January, the 3rd week of January each year, does what is called a point-in-time count. And that counts all of the transient populations that we have in our respective communities. Lake Havasu City, it was reported, went up slightly, but I like to remind folks that it's a point in time, so it's a snapshot. It's what was seen that particular day. Last year, during the point in time survey, last winter was one of the colder winters on record and a very rainy season, which had transient populations moving about the country in a different pattern than they do maybe in today's winter, where it's been beautiful pretty much all winter. So our numbers went up. I think we're in the 50-ish, 52 range from 53, did someone say? Oh, 53, perfect, yeah.
From 43.
Yeah, from 43 to 53, our population went up. So we're kind of, I'm not sure what angle you're going at, so I'll address it in each angle that there is. We're addressing it through a community resource coalition, which we created right after I took office, which brings about 100 organizations together of the nonprofit, faith-based social service group to be able to put all of the services in one room, so we know as a community what services do we have, and do we have any holes. And one of the things that we were able to discover during that is we don't really have too many holes except in like the youth mental health area and sector. Otherwise, we pretty much have most other things covered in that area. And those groups, now we're working on creating a one central database that ASU has partnered with us. Students are working on keeping that database live so people can call and get access to services that they need. Now, on the other side, we do have transient populations that do cause some issues for us. And so people that live on the edges of the desert, have home sites on the edges of the desert, people will pull up in tent camp or bring an RV and literally be in somebody's backyard. Not okay. And so we're working with state lands, because a lot of those lands happen to be state lands. We're also working with the county sheriff, because it's also land not in Lake Havasu City's limits, to help mitigate that. We've had some great success with that. Those are the two different angles we're working on. We want to maintain our community in a beautiful manner, but we also want to take care of our most vulnerable citizens as they might find themselves in a need for a hand up. So those are the things we're doing. Yes?
About 10 months ago, I was involved in an accident on McCullough Boulevard. We were rear-ended. And the person who called 911 gave the intersection as the corner of Media Center Drive and McCullough. Okay, and the dispatcher says there is no Media Center Drive in McCullough. But there's a street sign up there that somebody's installed. And I don't think you can put Cal Court on your street sign, and I can't put Larry's Lane on there. So those street signs are for emergency people and for people to find their way, and I think that sign should be removed by the city.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll actually update our 911 database. It is named either Media Center Drive or Scott Drive. It was Scott Drive for many, many years. They then petitioned the city council. This is long before us. I mean, this is either late 90s or early 2000s. And the compromise was because not all the businesses on that really small stretch of road, it's between Swanson and McCullough, wanted to change their letterhead or stationary. They kept it two roads. So maybe our database is out of, with Google these days, Google thinks they know everything. We sometimes have to tell Google. So we'll tell Google that it's named two things.
Also, I went to the landfill the other day, and the guy says, oh, there's been a slight increase in the minimum charge. It went from $6 with 1 cent tax to $6.01, but it went to $11.50 for a minimum charge and 2 cents tax for a total of $11.52. That's more than a little increase. I think the small amounts that people bring, the average citizen in a pickup truck or something like that, should be a load amount. If it's flush to the top of the bed, it's $5 or pick some number, okay?
All right, so let's talk about landfills for a second. So landfill, we own a landfill like Havasu City does, and they are expensive. They are so expensive to operate. If you're over 50,000 people, they're even more expensive to operate. And so we just renegotiated our contract, like Havasu City renegotiated the contract with Republic Services. We went out for an RFP on that, and Republic Services was the winning bidder. What we were doing is, there was a time just 3 years ago that we thought that the landfill would only be about 7 to 9 years in lifespan, which would have required us as a community to purchase new land, we would have had to pay to fill in the landfill, and there's lots of requirements with the EPA and all that, and also manage a new landfill. Costly. I mean, we talked about a second bridge. That would be a drop in the bucket to what a new landfill would be. So we went through, and when we renegotiated the garbage contract, we took a ton of heat for those blue garbage bins, a ton of heat, but it was the right decision to do. Now our recycling is all thrown into those bins. It's then put on a truck, and it's taken to a recycling center up in Las Vegas. But what it has done is it increased recycling like 300%.
Yeah, huge number.
Huge,
Yeah.
300% it increased, which then our landfill now is in the mid 30 years. Yeah,
depending on usage and how we grow, right now, if we keep on progressing the way we are, it's like 35 to 40 years is the life of the landfill.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So we were able to do that, but now as part of that, we were having folks that are not Lake Havasu City citizens using our landfill and dropping off their things. And it actually was at such an affordable rate that it might make sense for them to bring in their whole garbage truck and drop it off. State law changed in 2016 and deregulated the commercial trash business, meaning that any commercial entity can call any commercial trash hauler to remove their trash. And as such, then that truck could go pay that same mill rate that you were paying, the cheap one, dump their whole load of trash into our landfill and cost us taxpayers more money in the long run. So when the contract was renegotiated with Republic Services, they operate it, but those fees had to go up in order to protect the integrity of the landfill for many years and future generations of Lake Havasu City. So we're gonna go to Mark. I think you had a question, then we'll swing back over.
Yeah, I was just hearing a lot of rumors that the London Bridge is sinking.
Are you talking about back in the 60s?
Yeah.
I'm just seeing a lot of lies. And,
Yeah,
people
so-
are always talking about how it's sinking into the lake, and that was the reason for the second bridge.
Maybe the waters go up and down levels.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Absolutely not. No.
That song will go away. Yeah.
I knew it was falling down.
Yeah.
A while ago, and then we brought it here and it's secure. No,
Yeah.
London Bridge is not falling
That song
down.
was written a long time ago.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Who do you complain to about a business, like Consumer Affairs or something?
Oh, yeah, so if you have a complaint to lodge against a business?
My neighbor does.
Okay, yeah, so if you have there is no shortage of places to complain. Have you heard of the internet? But we actually have the Better Business Bureaus right here.
At your table.
Is that at the right table, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Better Business Bureau is a good trusted source of places to complain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dave.
My question is dredging on the channel. Is there any plans of dredging the channel, especially in the narrow spots or in
Are you talking south end of the channel or north end?
north end?
North end. North end, I'm glad you said north end because we have a solution for that. I was like, please don't say south end.
It's worse than going into Thompson.
South end.
Oh, south end. Oh, bummer. Okay, all right, so let's talk about the north end for a second. We're working with the Chemehuevi Indian tribe on the north end. That's where their boat goes out, their ferry boat. And they have a little bit more pull with the federal government than a city does, being a tribal community. And we are working on a Tiger grant to be able to get some funds to do the north end of the channel, open that area up. I've reached out to both Senator Sinema's office and Senator Mcsalley's office. They both offered letters of support. That's a federal grant funding source. The south end of the channel, that's getting a little hot for me, so I'm going to turn it over to Jen.
No, actually, it ties the conversation we had a little bit earlier. Thanks to the efforts of Representative Leo Biasucci and the bill that he brought forward for SLIF funds, maybe we can bring in some of those dollars to accomplish some of those tasks. So, but yeah, it's going to take some efforts of state and federal agencies are going to have to assist with that. But we see a need. The last dredging effort on the south side of the channel was less than 10 years ago, right? And we're already seeing what's occurring. So it's not a one-time fix it and walk away from the situation. So it's ongoing maintenance, and we see a need and concern. At south end, where you see it kind of closing together, and they're right by where there's the public swimming areas. and I know the boating and the heavy weekends. So we see it, and we're trying to find the best way to address it without having to use local resources, because we don't have the local resources to accomplish that task. Yeah.
All right, we'll take one last question because we're getting up against our time, and then we'll stay afterwards. All right, B?
Well, here's my question.
Yes.
This might be for Mark Clark or Greg, but you know everything about chip seal. Do you know those little street sweepers that come 3 and 4 times and do the same job over and over the month? Do we rent them with their drivers, or do we own them with our drivers?
So street sweeping, we used to back in just a few years back.
You might be talking about when the chip seal is being applied, when that's happening, or just normal? Okay.
Normal. Yeah. So we contract with a company now that does our community. Right now, it's twice a year. They come in and do the whole community in about 4 or 5 days, or just in a couple of days.
It's about 2 weeks. It takes them to get through the whole city.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And last time that they came, it was right before the big storm. So literally cleaned up all the streets, and then the storm came, and
on Thanksgiving.
that was a bad day. And so we contract those people. Now we're going to increase that to 3 times a year because the roads are not being kept clean in that manner. And then we do have our own that we augment with, that we do storm cleanup with. And if there's some area that something happened. So, but we just have a few of our own.
Okay, well, I have a second question then.
Okay.
I want to be hired to use those sweepers, because the men who use those sweepers do not know that those great big brushes on the back are supposed to touch the street. They're not supposed to be up this high unless it's on my street. And they go up and down, don't they ever look behind them?
No.
You're right, that is a Mark Clark issue. That's going straight to him. Yeah. Jeez, that's not managed by my office.
All they do is put water down on the street. The brushes don't touch the street.
All right, yeah, we'll talk to him about that. Yeah. That's funny. Yes.
There is a new dump in town, and they don't charge because it's our desert. And I live right on it, and you should see the trash collected. We have a cleanup day, the last weekend in March. Please volunteer. Come out for an hour. You don't know the difference you'll make. She's got pictures up there of the things that are being dumped there. People are taking their sofas, their mattresses, their TV sets, and then that's what happens to them. They are used for target practice, okay? And there's tannerite out there. It's against the law. They have a huge sign. BLM put a huge sign out there. Very expensive sign. 4 of them. And guess what? They got shot up. Because they told them that it was going to be $1,000 fine for using tannerite. And yet in town, they're still selling it.
It's not illegal to sell tannerite.
That's legal.
Yes, so it's
illegal to blow it up.
blow it up, not illegal to sell it.
It's $1,000 fine, and they cited 16 people. Thank you to our BLM Rangers.
There you go.
Doing the best they can. But if you have extra money, Sonny, we could really use it to protect our wildlife and our.
That's state, not federal. Yeah. So
BLM is federal.
Yeah, that BLM's federal. So we all have been working on it, Christine. So we appreciate your passion, but appropriate forums for appropriate things. So all right. So at the end of this, we generally do fast facts, but the fact for today is I forgot my fast facts. So hold on, I know, and then I will give you double fast facts in April when we meet. But we have a cool place we're going in April. On April 3rd is where we'll be, and we're going to go to the Islander resort out on the island, so you'll be able to see all the development we talked about today. There is a new boathouse restaurant there, but we're not going to be in the restaurant. There's these really cool man cave storage unit things that are really cool, and you'll be able to see what they are, and that'll be on April 3rd, 8:30 in the morning. A big thank you to Bill, who's manning the camera. He volunteers his time to do this. Thank you so much. And to Steve Blake with our city staff that is everywhere, making sure everyone can have access to us from community affairs. Thank you. And then to Kelly Williams, who's joining us today and taking notes to make sure we can follow up with everything that you all had. We will stay here afterwards and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve you, and thank you for being here, and thank you to the Views for hosting us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.